Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Sewy, where I talk about all things sewing and all things life. Today I have got my June favourites video for you, which covers a bit of both. So I've been doing my favourites video for over a year now, and they always go down really well, and they're one of my favourite videos to make. I round up under the same headings each time, and I've pretty much kept to the same headings since I started, so that, well, for me, it means I can kind of change, look at my progress over time, or see how my tastes have changed, and for you, you kind of get into the rhythm of things. Before we get too started today, if that's a thing, I thought I would tell you about where I am filming, because I don't think I've filmed in this room before. This is our guest room, which ironically we finished not all that long before the lockdown. We actually had it finished just for Christmas, so it has been used once over Christmas 2019 to 2020, and since then it's basically been mothballed. It's literally at the top of a staircase, and it's the only thing if you turn in one direction. There's no other part of our house. Oh, and we're getting a really strong reflection of sunlight. Anyway, so sometimes I even forget it's here because it's been so new and so barely used. Yeah, that I thought, do you know what, I'm gonna squirrel myself away in a different room with a different wallpaper background. If you're interested, the wallpaper is from B&Q, which are a big DIY chain, and it wasn't very expensive. I actually only have it on one wall, and then because it's me, I also have it on the ceiling of the ensuite bathroom for this room. And if you don't know why I should be so excited about getting a new room, well, because I'm excited about house stuff, but we're doing a huge renovation, and when I say a new room, I literally mean we built this. We didn't build it in December. This has been a long project, 6 years old so far, but it was kind of October, November, December last year. Plastered, didn't do the wiring because it's not legal to do your own wiring, but we plumbed it, we tiled it, we fitted everything, we painted it, we wallpapered it, the whole lot. Ready for Christmas. So yeah, it is very exciting, and that's why I forget the room exists, because it doesn't get used at the minute, but it will get used, hopefully really soon. Anyway, on with the video. So I said I do the same categories each time. I do, not always in the same order because I'm a bit forgetful, but my first category today is my favourite purchase, and leading straight on from DIY talk, it's a DIY related item, and it's a sink. So these answers are not always sewing related. There's always sewing stuff in there, but it's not always all sewing. This is the place on my channel where most often I stray off into other parts of life. Yeah, and we bought a sink for another part of our house. That's for the downstairs toilet, which is the part of the house that we're working on at the moment. Again, built it all. So it's plastered, it's plasterboarded, now it's the pretty stuff. And this sink, I will put you a picture up. I thought about bringing to film, but it's in a room at the other end of the house, and it's also made out of cement, and it's really, really heavy. But I love it. It's not marble, but it kind of looks like marble. It's really quite big, and it's very smooth, and it looks exactly as I presume the way it's been made, which is the coloured powder was dropped into the cement somewhere in the making process, and you can see all the swirls and the way the colour's moving around in it. So it's kind of a statement sink for the downstairs loo. And I'm kind of building the whole decor around that, and around also we're going to have a purple painted floor, which is the same colour. I think I showed you a couple of favourites videos ago. Anyway, so a sink is my most favourite purchase of the last month or so, and I'm very excited that probably in the next week or so we'll be able to fit that. We're waiting for a shelf to be ready to put onto it because it's very heavy, need a special shelf. My second category is very much sewing. It is my favourite me-made garment of this month. Now, it's not necessarily something that I've made because I do a whole other what have I been sewing video. It's what of the things that I have made that are in my wardrobe, do I love the most? And the thing I picked out this month is one of my kabuki tees. It's this one, which was recently on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you should zoom over there if Instagram is your thing. I'm Joey Sewy there as well. So this is a kabuki tee, and one of the things I love about the pattern is that it's got this really interesting line down here. This is like, I think it would be described as a seersucker. I'm hoping it's clean as I bring it towards the camera. So you can see, as the camera decides to focus, that it's got that crinkle effect that is quite characteristic of seersucker. But it's a light, probably cotton. I got it from a market stall, so didn't come with a composition label. Why have I picked this out? Well, I've picked it out because I feel great when I wear it, and it's brilliant for hot weather. It's actually really easy to layer as well, so it's really versatile. But recently, not today, it's rained all day, but recently it's been some really hot days, and this pattern has huge armholes. It doesn't go close under the arms, so it gives you all the ventilation. It's also quite wide, but because it's cropped, and it's a style choice, but it is meant to be fairly cropped in length. Because it is cropped in length, it doesn't look like you're wearing something giant. It feels voluminous, but it doesn't overwhelm. I've got quite a small frame because I'm not very tall and I'm not very wide, although I am wider than I was a few months ago. We're working on that. Anyway, I don't want to be overwhelmed by fabric, but I also don't want to wear tight clothes all the time because I don't think they all suit me, and because in hot weather they're just not appropriate. It's one of the few things that I have got my label in. So my real name, instead of my code name of Joey Sewy, my real name is Jo Cook. So I have some labels, and I always forget to put them in things, but for some reason I obviously knew when I made this that it was a winner, and so I put Jo Cook made this in it. I guess a partner garment to this would be my purple linen trousers that I also featured in my most recent video, which was about whether I really wear the things I made. The short answer is I do, mostly. Obviously I do have some fails, but I thought it would be interesting to look back at what I wear and how I wear it and share that with you. So that was my most recent video. So if you haven't seen that and it sounds interesting to you, then I'll put a link in all the places that we can put links, or just have a look on my channel. I have got, I think this might be my 170th video, so there's a bit to choose from. Moving on to my next category. My next category is my favourite pattern. Now again, this is not necessarily a new pattern, but it's also not always a pattern that I've got. It's kind of the pattern that's new to me, or the one that I've been obsessing over or thinking about the most in the last few weeks. And I have picked out a couple. The first one is definitely a really old pattern, and it's the Amy jumpsuit from Closet Case Patterns. I make no apologies for always having the love for Closet Case Patterns. I just really admire the company, I admire the style, and most of all I admire the instructions. It's a big thing with me is good instructions, and they always have them. Now I have never made, and I don't own, the Amy jumpsuit, but I was obsessing over the style of it the other day and thinking I have nothing like that, and it's really voluminous, and I thought, yeah, I could really see that potentially working in my wardrobe. So I thought I would just highlight the Amy jumpsuit because I've been feeling a lot of enthusiasm for that pattern this month. I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to make it because I've got lots of plans and I'm not sure what I'm going to make next, but if I had all the time in the world, then yeah, I would be making it quite soon. We'll just see if summer runs out before I get round to it. I should have an honourable mention for a fairly run-of-the-mill pattern, but it's a company that I haven't used before and I'm actually making it at the moment. They're called the Resolution Joggers from Love Notions pattern. Love Notions were a recommendation to me for patterns with good instructions, and I'm definitely finding that they're really thorough. So I can echo that from now having a little bit of experience working with them, and it's a real basic pattern. It's not basic in that it's pared back, but the garment is basic. It's joggers plus leggings, and they've got a moto version which is kind of a reinforced knee. You'll be seeing some pictures as I talk. So actually you get a lot for your money in the pattern. You get 4 main variations. and there are possibilities within that, and the back yoke detail is quite interesting. So although I hadn't deliberately meant to pick it out, I am making that, and it is a new one to me, so I thought I'd just slot it in there. Now the third I think is quite a new pattern, and it's one that I found on the fold line, and it's for a dress. So the pattern name is Jasmine Tea and Dress, so that I can say that's okay. But the pattern company is Gerata Davies Patterns, I think. Of course, you'll be able to read it down here, and you'll be able to find links to it on my website and in the comments. I love this dress. I really, partly in the sample pictures, which I have on my phone down here, and you will be seeing, the green version is just really nice. If you follow me, you will know that I have been all about green for quite a while. Even in my wallpaper choices, there's quite a lot of green there, and if you could see the rest of the walls in this room, if we go up, and the ceiling are kind of a sage green. So it's all about the green. So the green sample in the pattern photography did interest me, but actually the thing that I first saw was the striped version, which I'll show you now, and also the way that the hem is bound with a different colour. I loved that. Now that is actually just about how they present the pattern, but it makes such a difference to how your imagination can think about it. When I showed you my kabuki tee, which is hung up here now, I was saying how I liked the pattern line down there, and if you have a look at the dress, the Jasmine dress, it has a similar line. It's not achieved in the same way because the kabuki's got an interesting cut. It's a little bit more conventional in how it's achieved because it's a narrow princess seam, and it's really highlighted by the striped version, because obviously the stripe is going one way on the centre portion of the dress, and it's going another way on the side portion of the dress, which is a really flattering way to orient stripes. It has pockets. You can even get badges saying that, can't you? It's important in a dress, I think. It's important in most garments. So yeah, it's got pockets, it's got a high-low hem, which I am a real fan of. I struggle feeling confident having bare legs or exposed legs. Mostly bare legs is what I struggle with. So a high-low hem just gives me a little bit more of a boost of confidence and makes me more likely to wear the dress. And I really like, finally, I like the band at the waist. So it actually goes around, it's an attached, as far as I can see from the line drawings, which I'll show you, it's a tie that attaches either side of that central panel, and then it goes around the back, and then you tie it in a bow or whatever you want to do with it. So that makes it slightly easier to sew than an inserted panel as well. But also it means that you can gather it in as much or as little as you want, so it gives you more flexibility in how you fit it without needing to fit the garment in one particular way. So I was scrolling through fold line, and that really caught my eye, and it's not a pattern company that I've ever heard of before, so I can't give you any information about what it's like to use their patterns, and this section is not necessarily that I'm going to use them, but I did really like that. And if you've tried any of those, or if you tried this one, I would love to hear about it. So tell us all in the comments down below, or tag me on Instagram if that's a thing that you do. Yeah, I'd love to see how it works out for you, because I really like the style of this dress. I always talk about my favourite gadget of the month. This is often sewing, and it is sewing this month. Who knows what that is? It is called a clapper. You may be shouting at the TV right now. But yeah, it's called a clapper. And I have been using some fabrics that are not particularly keen on staying where you press them, so the clapper has been very useful. If you don't know what a clapper is, and it's also, this is not just a clapper, because strictly speaking, I think only this bit would be the clapper. This is a point presser, so that's why the tip of there is pointed. The other end is slightly more rounded, so it's very subtle. This end has a flattened off end, so it's for pressing things like the points of collars. But the part I use the most is the flat bottom. And what you do is you press your thing, whatever that is, and then after you've taken the iron off, while it's still warm, you take that flat wooden section and you just put it down. You don't have to press, you just pop it there, walk off, do your next thing, or I often have one bit of my ironing board, I'm doing the left pattern piece, and then the next bit of the ironing board I'll do the right pattern piece, so I can leave the clapper on one thing that I've pressed to cool it down while I press the next thing, and then I'll move it across. What does it do and what's it for? It basically sets things that you have pressed. So it takes the heat out. The material, the substance that it is made of is really important, because the wood takes the heat and the moisture to some extent out of the fabric faster than just letting it sit there. And also the weight, because it's not heavy but it has weight to it, the weight holds whatever you've pressed in the position that you've pressed it whilst it sets. So you will find a dramatic difference. And in these fabrics that have been tricky, they kind of bounce back a little bit when you press them. So you take the iron off and the fabric goes, yeah, I'm only going to do half of what you asked me to do with the iron. And so you try and press it again, or maybe your fabric won't take a lot of heat and you need something else. Well, you can use a clapper. So you take the iron off, and when your fabric goes, nah, you just make sure it's close enough and you put that down, and then this says you will stay where you were pressed because I say so. And on 99% of tricky fabrics, this will do the trick. It's great when you're pressing jeans pockets or all sorts of parts of jeans, but especially jeans pockets. I use it a lot there, where you've got all that bulk of the top part of the back pocket. You're trying to fold it round before you top stitch the pocket on. This really helps. If you don't want to buy a clapper, but you're quite interested in something that would do the job, in the comments of my 5 free sewing tools video, which was another one that I did this month, I think, someone said I use heavy books, and because they're paper, it's essentially wood, isn't it? That would be really good. I would use a hardback book without this glossy cover on it if you're going to get really picky about what you use, because the glossiness will reflect some of the moisture back down into the fabric. But a heavy book, hardback, take the slip cover off, put it down after you have pressed your item, and that will also tell the fabric that it should behave itself. The next category that I have is an Instagram hashtag, or just a post, and this is actually really strongly related to my patterns, because one of the two that I'm going to mention is a specific post about the Amy jumpsuit, and it's someone who made it in stripes, who are called Tweed and Greet. It's a German language Instagram account, so I honestly have no idea what the text says. I assume it doesn't say this is an awful pattern, do not use it. I'm sure it doesn't, because she looks lovely in the picture. But it caught my eye because of the way that the stripes have been used on the Amy jumpsuit. So again, you can tell we are stripes. I've already picked out 2 garments that are striped. So yeah, we're all about the stripes as well as all about the green. But I don't think I have anything that's green and stripes, which is a bit of a error there, isn't it? I should do something about it. Anyway, I really liked this image, and she does have similarly beautiful photography on the rest of her feed, but it was that particular one. And I do love to look at hashtags of patterns if I've seen the pattern on one person, or I've seen the pattern itself and I think, well, how does that look when real people make it? Even the real people who can take all the beautiful Instagram pictures, which I'm not great at yet. They're good enough, but I'm getting better. I don't know if I ever want to get to the standard of the artistic, not looking at the camera. I probably do. Who am I kidding? I would like to be like that, but it takes a lot more effort than I currently have appetite to put in. So my Instagram posts are what they are. The second thing on Instagram is not a single account that caught my eye, or even a single image. It's a particular hashtag, which is a broad kind of subject area, and it's hashtag hand embroidery. Does what it says on the tin. Again, if you've watched others of my videos recently, you will know that I've been really into hand embroidery, and that continues. And the hashtag hand embroidery has a real variety of stuff. So the things that I have sewn, I've hashtagged that. And so you've got things like that on garments, but then also you've got everything up to really amazing art pieces that people have done, which are hand embroidery, and everything in between. So it's a really interesting hashtag to scroll through. And remember, you don't need to have an account to use Instagram. You don't need to use it on your phone. You can go onto Instagram I'm not sponsored by them in any way, shape or form. It has its issues because it can suck your time. But if you're interested in this stuff and you think, yeah, but I don't want an account, or I haven't got one, or I can't be bothered, you can just go on a laptop or a PC and scroll through images without having to log in, give personal details, or have any kind of device other than a PC. So hopefully, if you're interested, you can find a way that suits your particular needs. We are moving on to my favourite YouTube video, or just something I have watched generally that I want to share with you. And I have got 2.5 to share with you. The half one is a plea to another 150 people, if I can, to go and subscribe to my yoga channel. So whilst we've been in lockdown, and it's going to be the case for a while yet for yoga classes, I have been doing my yoga teaching online on YouTube videos, and I've been really enjoying doing that. And it's quite small scale because it's mainly for the people that I see in real life, not that it's not applicable to anyone. But if I can get to 1,000 subscribers, I would be able to live stream classes. Now I know I could do that on Zoom and other things as well, but YouTube is the channel that I choose to use. There are all sorts of reasons why it's my preferred channel at this time for this content. So if you were able to go along and subscribe, you don't have to get the notifications if you don't actually want to watch the yoga videos, if it's not within your interest. But if you could do that, it would do me a huge favour. And I'm only 150 people at the time of speaking away from that golden 1,000 threshold with that. Now, the stuff that you might actually want to watch if you're not interested in yoga. The first one is a tiny bit related, I suppose. It's a Matthew Bourne YouTube video about the ballet The Red Shoes. Now, if you don't know who Matthew Bourne is, he is a very famous ballet choreographer. At least he's famous in the UK. I don't know if he's famous worldwide, but he probably is within the ballet community. And he came to fame because he put on years ago the first all-male production of Swan Lake, which I've seen and was magnificent. And I've seen some of his work live. They did an all-male Sleeping Beauty, which was amazing, quite harrowing actually, really dark. And they were in the process of producing a not all-male, a mixed gender cast of the ballet The Red Shoes. And it was supposed to be on and touring the country, guess when? Now, when the theatres are closed and they can't do it. So quite early on in lockdown, what the ballet dancers did was, and I'm sure under various people's direction, because it must have taken a lot of organising, is they filmed a very shortened version, I think it's about 15 minutes, of the ballet with them dancing in their various locations. So it's their lounge and their dining room and their garden, and whoever was going to take certain roles in the ballet takes those roles, but they're dancing in things like football kits, because that's the clothes that they would wear at home, which I actually love to see because it makes ballet look so much more accessible. These are incredibly talented, incredibly highly trained athletes and artists. So what they're doing actually isn't accessible to any but a few immortal human beings. But it looks so much more accessible because it's presented in this kind of home movie way, and I'm not wearing the costume, I'm wearing my joggers or whatever, and it's amazing ballet. So I just loved the whole mix of it. It was one of these projects that would never have happened if it hadn't been for lockdown. Really interesting. The ballet in it is still very impressive, even though it's small scale, not on a huge stage. So if you like anything like that, if you love dance, then you might enjoy that. And completely not dance related, although actually still theatre related, and at the moment only available in the UK, is a production program I suppose, called Staged, which the BBC had on about 3 weeks ago, I think. It is a series of 5 or 6 15-minute programs. The concept of is basically David Tennant, famous actor, and Michael Sheen, famous actor. Pictures here if you don't know who they are, might help you know who they are, and if you don't know who they are, that's fine. They are friends in real life. They recently did a series together called Good Omens, which is available on Amazon Prime, and I think that's available worldwide. Absolutely brilliant if you haven't watched it, so there's a little bonus one. The concept is that they're in lockdown, so again it's a bit of a lockdown produced thing, and they were going to be in a play, and so the producer of the play, or the director of the play, is trying to get them to rehearse on Zoom, and with all the sarcastic and bored, and it's quite sweary, so if you don't like swearing you're not going to like it. But basically it's a series of Zoom calls that cut in and out between, a lot of the time, just two friends talking, David and Michael, but with special celebrity guests, which I can't tell you who they are because it would spoil it, but they are very high caliber guests, let me tell you. And it's so funny. It's hilarious, and touching, and cleverly done, and really entertaining. And even though it was about lockdown, it kind of transported you at the same time, and made these people who normally would be up on the pedestal and up on the screen feel really relatable. So we all enjoyed that, except for the 9-year-old, because of the swearing. We didn't watch that with him. But yeah, loved that. So I would strongly recommend that, unless you hate swearing, in which case don't turn it on. And finally, I highlight a podcast or an audiobook, and this time it's an audiobook. I had some fantastic response to the last audiobook that I told you about, The Paradox of Choice. Thank you so much, and I am trying to, in my brain, organise my thoughts to do a whole video about that subject and sewing. It might take me some time, but I am mulling it over. This book I'm probably not going to be doing a video about sewing in it, because it's a book about dragons, and it's a fantasy novel, but it's magical realism because it's based in the real world. It's the latest book from Owen Colfer, who came to fame as an author through the Artemis Fowl series, which are kind of young adult or young teen novels about fairies, but fairies in a not a fluffy way. And they're really good, and they're really entertaining. High Fire, again, it's quite sweary, and it's a little bit dark, and it's a little bit violent, so it's not for children, and the description of that is made very clear. Having said that, you don't have to have a hugely strong stomach as an adult, because I don't have a strong stomach for gore and guts and really nasty, the dark places that some novels can go, which are fine, but not for me. So it's not on that extreme, but it has to make it clear, given where the authors come from, that it's not the same audience. A bit like J.K. Rowling writing now as Robert Galbraith. Her detective novels can be really brutal, not for kids. So this is called High Fire. It's about the probably world's last dragon, who is hiding out in a Louisiana swamp, trying to live a quiet life. But of course the world won't let him do that. And to begin with, when I started listening to it, I was not sure whether I was going to enjoy the narrator, but I really got into it, because obviously the narrator has an appropriate accent for, or at least as far as I can tell, a Louisiana accent, which is not at all. But I wasn't sure if I was going to get on with it, but I really did get into it. I've seen some reviews and they're a little bit mixed, but I really enjoyed it. It was, I've talked before about the Rivers of London series, and it's probably not quite as good as that, but it's definitely getting there. And it doesn't say it's a series, but the ending definitely sets it up for more books, potentially. And I hope there will be more, because I would enjoy more. And that brings us to the end of my favourites video this month. Now, if you've stuck all the way to the end, congratulations. And you can get a secret little bit of news, but it's only a tease, which is in the next week or so on my channel, there are some big announcements coming up. That is literally all I can tell you right now. And I guess I'm not sorry for teasing you, otherwise I wouldn't do it. But it's coming up really soon. And it's great news for my channel, and I hope you will agree. Leaving that there, I'll just put it there and walk away. and I will see you really soon. My next video is going to be what have I been sewing in June. It's still June, so I need to run away from the camera, go downstairs and do some more sewing, so I've got something to show you when I film that later in the week. Thank you so much for watching now and as ever, and I'll be back really soon. Bye for now.